So I've gone and done the joinery for the warehouse in the underground section as much as I could. And here I'll do the explaining. Let me just pull up the plan for the underground section. And as you can see, this is what it looks like. Let me just pull this here so we can get a good look at the ground floor. And there we go. And now we just have the parking to do. And an important point here is, if you have paid attention to our phase 2 structural planning, we don't need to do any joinery for the columns and we'll just cover them by a color. So let me just pull up the CAD file so you can see the text, and here it is. It says the columns don't need any joinery and they'll be color coded. And as you can see in the file, it doesn't have any joineries around it. But I've gotten the liberty to do the joinery around the columns myself. You can opt to not do this option. And if you look at the CAD file that we have here, in the column section, you don't see any joinery and it's just some coloring around it. And it's just the parking here that remains. And if you pay attention, you know that the joinery around this part is different. So let me just pull up the details for this section, and there we go. So it's not this one. I think it was around here. Let me just scroll past this and this, and I think it's here. Yes. It says the underground inside cornice details and -1. And as you can see, these are the details in here. So I'm just going to create this upper and lower part of the wall here, and then I'll put them together using stack wall. So the first part in total is 20 plus 90 plus 20, which is 130. So let me just go back to the Revit file, and in here I'll choose the wall. I go to the properties, I'll make a duplicate, and I'll name this one the lower section of the parking's wall joinery. So let me just type it out. And after that, I'll hit OK. I'll go here, Control C, and then I'll go in this section and I'll just paste it in the type comment section as well. These are the infos that you can add on yourself if you want to. So I'll open up the edit assembly window and I'll set the thickness on 2.5 centimeters, which is for the white concrete. So I'll go here and then I'll open up the material browser and let me search for concrete to see what we have. Here, let me just type it in English again. Here, concrete. And then I'll open this part right here that says concrete. And I'll choose one of these concrete files here that doesn't have this yellow triangle, which means it's a newer version and it's higher quality. So it seems like there's no newer version of it, so I'll just choose one of these models that we have here and then I'll add it to the section above. Let me just see the name in full details. Alright, I'll choose this one and I'll add it. I'll check this box and I'll go to the identity tab. So I'll just go to the name section here and I'll rename it to Cement Sand Slurry. Let me just edit it out. And there you go. And then we go to the description part here. So I'll just hit a Ctrl V to add it in the description as well. And I'll just add a text to the ending part of it. Alright, according to technical figures. And there we go. So I'll just copy this text here and in the class section I'll put it on concrete. And after I've done that, you have the other sections that you can type in all sorts of information that's to your preference. So we go down to this part in the keynotes and I'll put up the keynote and let me browse through it and see if we have what we want in the notepad. Let me see. All right, it seems like we don't have it. So I'll just hit OK here. So I'll go to the Appearance tab here, and then I'll replace this with a newer version if it is possible. I'll just search for concrete, and I'll open this concrete part here. And I think the shapes that you're seeing here are newer types. Let me just edit the viewing parts so you can get a better look at them. And there we go. So in the search box, I'll type in 25/30. So let me go to the concrete section that we had here again. Let me change the viewing style again. For example, let's go with this one right here. So I add this one and then I close the window. And then I'll go to the Graphics tab. And in the cut section that we have here, I'll select this hatching for it, and then maybe gray as a color. And then I'll hit OK. And in the surface part, I'll choose the same. And I'll go ahead and select the same gray color as well. So we can go here and combine these two different types of hatchings together, because I've seen it done usually. And then for color, I'll have maybe a darker gray for this one, and then I'll hit apply. After that, we do a OK here, and that's it. So as a test, I'll just draw a wall over here in this part. And after I've done that, let me just go back to the notepad real quick. I'll just copy the walls that we have here. So here, I'll go down to this line that we have here, and I'll create a new line here, and I'll name it W-16. And then here I'm going to write cement sand slurry according to technical figures. After that, I hit a tab again. So let me just go back to the CAD file and look at the joinery chart that we had here so I can be sure. Here we have the finishing parts, and then after that we have the doors and windows. Alright, it seems to be correct, and it's the same one right here. So after I've hit tab, I hit Ctrl V to paste walls again. I'll just save the file, and then I go back to the Revit file. And here I'll go to the Annotate tab. And from the keynote section, I'll just reload it quickly. And then I'll go to this part over here and put up the material. And here I select outline in the keynotes. And as a mark or branding, I'll put the cement and sand again. And then apply. So we go to the graphics tab. You can uncheck this use render box if you want to. And here in this part, you can choose a color that's perhaps more to your preference, whatever the color is. So after that, I hit OK. And finally, we just have this lower part right here. And after that, I hit OK, and that's it. So let me just pop back to the CAD file. So let's go to the plan and see the coordinates that we have here. It's 1, 2, 3. So here I'll just measure a distance real quick. Let me just type DI. So it's 20 centimeters here, and the thickness is 1.5 centimeters. So I go to the File tab here, and I'll select the New, and then I select Family. And then here I'll search and see if I can find the metric profile file that we had. After that, I open it up.